Welcome to the Friday 13th YouTube channel. Today, folks, we've got a fantastic album review. The first review for this year in 2025. It's Sacrifice from Canada, who are about to release their long-awaited new album. It's called Volume 6, and it's going to be released on Curse Blessing Records. This is a fantastic album and a great follow-up to the last album, The Ones I Condemned. Check it out. Now, Sacrifice were formed in Canada, in Toronto, Ontario, in 1983 by guitarist and vocalist Rob Urbinati and guitarist Rico. Now, Joe and Rob found bassist Scott Watts and also original drummer back then, Andrew Banks. So Andrew left the band and his replacement was Gus Pynn, who recorded most of the band's classic albums. Now, the band recorded some demo tapes, which was highly successful and well received on the underground scene. And it wasn't long before the band was signed to Diabolical Records in Canada. Now, the band was approached by Brian at Diabolical Records, who released the debut album Torment and Fire. This was also released on Metal Blade Records. This album also received some fantastic review in the magazine Metal Forces. The album was very savage and raw and captured the band's full energy. And this was followed by the band's second album, which is called Forward to Termination, released in 1987, also on Diabolic, Metal Blade, and also Roadrunner. For me personally, this is my all-time favourite album, my cult classic. People would probably say Torment and Fire is their cult classic, but for me, Forward to Termination was an absolute fantastic album, showed the true strength of the band. Now, the band had released their next album, which was called Soldiers of Misfortune, released in 1990. This was on Fringe Records and also Metal Blade. For me, personally, this was a little bit lightweight in production, but it still captured some great songs. This was also the last album that drummer Gus Pynn would do before rejoining the band for the album The Ones I Condemned. The next album that the band released was called Apocalypse Inside, also on Metal Blade Records, released in 1993, which was a pretty good album. And like I said, the band broke up, sadly, but they made a comeback in 2009 for the record company Marquee Records in Brazil, and this was the album called The Ones I Condemned. For me, personally, this took me back to the first two albums, a very strong comeback album. What do you guys think? Leave some comments and let me know. Now, sadly, the band didn't really do much after that album, which is a damn shame because it was a fantastic album. It wasn't until recently that the band are about to release their new album. So there's been quite a gap for these guys. Having said that, they've come back with the original lineup as they did on the last album, The Ones I Condemned. And if you like the band's last album, you're in for a right treat. Volume 6 is an absolute stalker of an album. Takes me back to the first two albums and also the last album, The Ones I Condemned. Absolute cult classic, guys. And like you say, if you do like this band, you're not going to be disappointed. Now, this new album, Volume 6, is released in Europe on High Roller Records, and it's released on the 24th of January of 2025. Now, looking at the album cover, as you can see in this review, Volume 6, it's an interesting cover, something different what I expected for this band. I'd be very interested to hear what the concept is behind the album title and the album cover. So hopefully in the very near future, I'm going to be interviewing the band once again. Now, I'm pretty sure the band produced this album, but the mixing and mastering was done by Darius. He's a panko, has done a fantastic job. And like I say, if you like the last album, it's pretty much in the same production, but a lot more savage and a lot more volume. But it's a really, really brilliant comeback album, folks. So this album comes with 11 songs and it clocks in at 40 minutes and 59 seconds. So I'm going to tell you now what the song titles are before I just roughly give you a rundown of some of the songs off the new album. The opening track is called Comatose, and this was followed by Antidote of Poison, followed by Missile, Unearth, Millennia, Your Hunger for War, Incoming Mass Extinction, Lunar Eclipse, Explode, Black Harshish, We Will Not Survive, and the last song is called Trapped in a World. This features Brian Taylor. Opening track Comatose is an absolute fantastic song. It's a really heavy and brutal song, and it takes me back to the early stages of the first two albums. It's savage, heavy, and very brutal, and Rob's vocals are still on top form. Now, the thing about this band, it's not all about speed. There's some really heavy mid-pace parts in these songs, and they really work well for this band. But like I said, they're one of the pioneers of Canadian thrash, alongside Exciter and Razor. And it's also good to see that the band have a very strong bond. Next song is Antidote of Poison. This is a fantastic song. Not as heavy as the opening track, but it's still classic Sacrifice. In places, it also reminds me of Christian band Believer, who also were good friends with Sacrifice. And another band that springs to mind is Destruction, especially Rob's vocals, pretty similar to that of Schmear. Having said that, this song does build up towards the end and becomes a brutal thrash metal track. Next track, Missile, reminds me once again of Destruction, also reminds me of Slayer, and a little hint of Exodus. Now, this is an awesome song. The next song to follow is a song called Underneath Millennia. This is a pretty cool song, but it's probably the slowest song on the album. It does pick up towards the end, but it's still got a heavy, chunky riffings in it. Some great guitar playing, great drumming, and some great vocals. The next song is called Your Hunger for War. This is really much like Slayer, but at times it has a little hint of hardcore in there. Probably a band like Hatebreed. Don't let that put you off, folks. It's still pretty much classic Sacrifice. But I'm just saying, it has a vibe in there of Hatebreed meets Slayer. All in all, this is an absolute fantastic album. I want a great start to 2025. Production's really good. The songs are extremely strong. It's a really well thought out album. I'm going to give this album 5 out of 5. I think it's one of the best albums that the band have done since the first two albums. So please, folks, check out this album. Check out the link so you can check out the song. Leave comments and thumbs up, and please subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching. More album reviews coming soon.